everyone out there in the void. I just wanted to do a reflection on Ishtarfest this past weekend. I think I did videos like this the past couple of years as well. This was, I believe, my 4th year attending Ishtarfest, as well as my 2nd year presenting and being part of the planning committee. The theme for this year was Where Inanna Walks: Memory, Justice, and Sacred Community. Here is this year's artwork made by my friend Damara. I'll put a link to her Redbubble in the description in case you want some official festival merch. This year, rather than a regular presentation, I did a guided discussion session inspired by a discussion format that I learned to facilitate while I was serving in a national service program, in which the discussion is centered around a particular literary text as a focal point in discussing service and justice. In this case, our service to the deities that we worship. I chose The Exaltation of Inanna as the literary work due to it being one of the most well-known ancient literary works on Inanna. Because of the autobiographical details that the High Priestess in Hedduana includes in the piece, I thought it would be a great starting point for people to relate to their own relationship to Inanna and how she inspires them to show up in their own communities. I got a lot of heartfelt contributions about how Inanna has shown up in others' lives and helped them to get through difficult times in their lives, much like she has shown up for me. I've probably mentioned more than enough times on this channel how she came to me during some of my darkest times. First during difficult times as a kid, and then more recently as an adult during cancer treatment. I was hoping to get a little bit more discussion on how participants show their dedication through tangible acts of service in the community. I mean, don't get me wrong, Inanna hears your prayers and sees your ritual and devotional work, but she is a goddess of civilization. And the more that I deepen my relationship with her, I've come to understand her as a connecting force between human civilization, nature as a whole, and the divine realm, which are all inextricably linked together. As an aside, I view nature being a facet of the divine, and civilization as being a facet of nature. So none of these can really be separated in any meaningful way. In my opinion, in my experience as a devotee and priestess to her, to be fully devoted to the goddess, you must be contributing to the betterment of society in some way, to the best of your abilities. As a goddess of civilization, I thoroughly believe that she wants her devotees to actively participate in the betterment of society. Maybe she works through you in the world by inspiring you to volunteer your time doing acts of service related to her spheres of influence. For example, working with food pantries, or helping victims of abuse or environmental disasters. Even just picking up litter on a walk through the park to keep natural areas beautiful and healthy. Even volunteering to tutor children who are struggling with literacy counts, as her worship is so intertwined with the development of the written word. Actually, that is very important work, especially since literacy is being so threatened right now. Inanna is such an expansive goddess that whatever your particular gifts or interests are, I bet there is something you can do to give back to the world in her honor. I am so grateful for everyone who contributed to my discussion, and it was so moving to hear all the ways in which Inanna has given all of us the strength to get through our own exiles and our own times of descent. Now, I would like to challenge all of us who have been made stronger by her divine will to pay this divine assistance forward in the form of whatever type of service you are able to give back to the world. Inanna has called upon each and every one of you for good reason. You have something valuable to offer to her and to humanity through your societal contributions. Okay, I'll step off my proverbial soapbox now and talk more about the festival. There were a lot of excellent presentations, activities, and rituals. The weekend started with Ninkasi's cocktail hour, where my friend Julian taught us a bit about ancient Sumerian beer brewing, and then taught us how to make her own cocktail or mocktail inspired by Inanna. I admittedly think I need to rewatch the recordings for everything that happened Friday night after this session, and I'm willing to bet that I'm not the only one. One of the presentations that really spoke to me was Ivy Bromius's presentation, Inanna's Descent, Healing Magic on the Poison Path, in which she talked about how she engaged with Inanna during her own breast cancer diagnosis and treatment as an initiatory experience, holding the narrative of the descent to the underworld as a mythic anchor point. I cannot tell you how affirming it was to hear of someone else having such a similar experience to my own. I've already talked a bit on this channel about my own cancer battle and how much Inanna helped me to ascend from that particular expression of the underworld in my own life. Ivy also talked about her process for identifying and harnessing the poison spirits of chemotherapy and her working of the spirit of the sun, in which she created a healing oil for radiation treatment. She has a downloadable book called The Cancer Grimoire, where she goes into more detail about how she utilized magic in her healing journey. The Cancer Grimoire is available for free on her website, circlethrice.com. I will put a link in the description. If I forget, someone remind me in the comments section. What I appreciate most about Ivy's work is that she uses magic in conjunction with modern medical treatments rather than instead of. The magical workings are used to enhance the medical treatments and minimize the harmful side effects. This is the way. No either or thinking here, just divine harmony. Diseases like cancer are very much diseases of the physical body on the physical material plane, so the treatments need to be grounded on the physical plane. But as everything is interlinked, techniques that interact with the more subtle energies can still have measurable effects, provided they are working alongside the material plane efforts. These subtle energies need like a physical path to interact with to have effect within the physical world. Otherwise, it's just static that has nowhere to go. At least that's how I experience these things. The gods gave us the ability to discover and use material medical knowledge. You aren't less spiritually aligned for trusting in modern medicine. Quite the opposite, in fact. In my opinion, it is a bit of a slap in the face to the gods to refuse their gifts of medical knowledge just because you don't feel like it aligns with some kind of manufactured spiritual aesthetic or whatever. And that goes for any kind of alternative treatment things, whether it's pagan magic, new agey energy healing, Abrahamic faith healing, or anything else. There are a lot of things wrong with the medical industry, mostly the insurance and for-profit business model stuff, but that doesn't mean that the medicine itself is bad. Sorry, I got back up on my soapbox for a second there, and I'll get down now. Anyway, The Cancer Grimoire by Ivy Bromius is available to download for free from her website, circlethrice.com. I hope you don't need it, but if you do, you know where to find it. Another presentation that stood out was Megan Lewis's Care and Keeping of Mesopotamian Gods. Her presentation offered an accessible introduction to the care and keeping of Mesopotamian deities, with a special focus on how ancient worshippers approach devotion, ritual, offerings, and daily practice. Megan is an Assyriologist who, along with her husband Josh Bowen, run Digital Hammurabi. They make historical information about the ancient Near East accessible to regular, non-academic people like you and me. They even offer courses in ancient languages, including Sumerian. I've read their books on learning ancient Sumerian, and I'm planning on doing their video course one of these days. I have found that learning a bit of Sumerian so that I can write devotional material in the original language to be a game changer in my personal practice. Not that you have to learn Sumerian to worship the gods, but if your brain works at all like mine, you may find it a very satisfying addition to your practice. Some other presentations that stood out were Dr. Blythe Collier's presentations. Her Friday night presentation, Reimagining Community, celebrating Inanna through connection, education, and joy, focused on how Sumerian religious practice, particularly the worship of Inanna, can help us to build community in times of upheaval, highlighting themes of sacred reciprocity, ritual kinship, relational justice, and sacrality rooted in the divine woman. I think we can all agree that building strong, resilient communities built on reciprocity is one of the most important things we can be doing right now. On Sunday, Peter Silverman talked about Inanna and the 21st century city, in which he highlighted Inanna's continuing presence in the modern day and how he experiences her in his own city of Chicago. He talked a bit about her presence in modern day cities and how she can guide us in enabling diverse, vibrant, growing, artistic, loving communities. In addition to the presentations were some excellent performances as well. On Friday night, Jeremy and Aviana performed a dramatic spoken word piece about the Ayana Temple complex in Uruk called 5 + 8 = 13 Houses of Holy Inanna. And on Saturday, they returned to present a ritual performance as a first look at Aviana's upcoming film series, Sisterhood Cinematic Universe. Those were both very exciting and creative performances. Then on Saturday night, poet Chris Dorian returned again this year to host his Gathering of the Ancient Bards open mic night event. I performed a poem that I wrote for the occasion, which I'll make a separate video for one of these days. And then, of course, were the rituals. On Saturday night, Priestess Valerie and Priest Ivan from the Temple of Inanna and Dumuzi did their devotional ritual. This is always one of my favorite parts of the festival. It's a beautiful devotional ritual to Inanna and Dumuzi. This is the same devotional that they offer every month on the Friday night closest to the full moon, which is open to all devotees on Zoom, as well as in person for those who are local to them in California. I'll put a link in the description if I remember. Someone remind me if I don't. Valerie and Ivan are truly doing Inanna's work in the world by freely offering this devotional service every month. I've admittedly been absent for the past few months due to fatigue from health issues getting in the way of me being able to stay up late enough in my time zone, but I'm going to try to get back in the habit of attending. Then on Sunday, Allie and Priska hosted their rededication ritual again, as they've done every year since I've been attending this festival. It was beautiful as always. I always enjoy seeing how there are so many others who are so committed to Inanna, both longtime devotees and new. I'll post the poem that I wrote for Inanna as my dedication offering in its own video too. I'd love to stay in touch with anyone who attended, as well as anyone else who is a devotee of Inanna who finds this later. Comment here, find me on Facebook or Instagram, or send me a message through my website, aneonkey.com. If you got my email address during the conference, go ahead and email me there too. Oh, and a special thank you to everyone who bought something from my shop. Your packages are on the way. Keep an eye out for a little purple package in your mail. Thank you for watching and for attending Ishtarfest. If you missed the festival, you can purchase access to the recordings from Hands of Change on their Gumroad page. I'll include the link in the description. Thank you again. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.